In the last movie, we saw the basics of the Layer Explorer. Now let's talk about object and layer display properties. Each object and each layer has attributes to control their display. The object or layer display properties are accessed from the quad menu. So for example, I can open up this fixtures layer that we created in the last movie and select an object such as lamp frame, and then right-click to go into the quad menu. And from here, I can choose display properties and enable or disable some options such as display as box. Let's try that. Turn that on. And now that lamp frame object is being displayed as a box. And in this case, because it was a member of a group, all of the members of the group inherited that change. Not all the display properties are available directly from that quad menu. You may need to go into the properties, which is a separate window. I'll select that lamp frame object and right-click and go into the object properties. And over on the left are the display properties. And we see, for example, display as box. We can turn that off and click OK. And that attribute has been set for all the members of the group once again. The easiest way to control display properties is either from the columns listed here or from the display panel. And that's over in the command panel. Click on display. And I can collapse some of these rollouts here and get to the one at the bottom, which is display properties. So once again, I can select some objects such as lamp glass and adjust its display properties. Maybe I'll turn display as box back on again. And once again, because it was a member of a group, all of those group members inherited that change. All right, I'll turn that back off again. The display property that I find I need to change all the time is this one, show frozen in gray. By default, frozen objects will render in the viewport as a flat gray with no material or textures. And we can see that if we freeze this fixtures layer. And now the objects are displayed in a gray color. Well, that's not my preference. I want the frozen objects to render normally in the viewports. Let's make that happen. I'll unfreeze that layer and then select some member of the layer. Over in the display properties, disable show frozen in gray. And let's try freezing the layer again. And now, even though those objects are frozen, they're not displayed in gray. There's an easier way to set display properties for many objects in a layer. Objects can inherit display properties from their enclosing layer. In a complex scene with many objects, it's helpful to set display properties per layer and have those options propagate to all of the enclosed objects. But by default, with the standard 3ds Max preferences, all new objects' display properties are by object, meaning they don't inherit from the layer. So let's change this up. I'm going to unfreeze this layer and then select one of these objects, right-click on it, and choose By Layer. And we see the icon change over here. It did have a little teapot that indicates a By Object status, but now they've got a little layer icon, meaning that those objects are inheriting the properties from their enclosing layer. So let's go into the layer properties, select the fixtures layer, right-click, go to its properties, and disable show frozen in gray. Click OK, and then freeze that layer. And what we've done here now is we've set up all of those enclosed objects so that they will inherit the display properties from their layer, and set the layer to not show frozen objects in gray. And when we freeze the layer, we see the objects are still rendered with their materials. If you want all new scene objects to automatically inherit the layer display properties, you can set that up in the Preferences. Go to Customize, Preferences. In the General tab, under Layer Defaults, there's an option to default to by layer for all new nodes. So enable that and click OK. And now any objects that you create will automatically inherit the display properties from their enclosing layer. That's how to control display properties for objects and display layers.